I've recently watched season 4 of Stranger Things and decided it's time to talk about the series as a whole because it is turning out to be one of my favourites of all time. Hi, my name's Stu and welcome to another review video on Flying Wiener. Now I know we talk about Netflix series a lot, but it just so happens that there are just a lot of series on there that I do enjoy very much. And Stranger Things is definitely one of them that I enjoy quite a lot. As you can see, I've even went and got a poster of it just because, I don't know, something about the show to me already feels very, very iconic. Just the imagery, you've got the 4 main character kids, the little town of Hawkins, Indiana, and the big evil that is stirring there. And I just love the overall concept of the show. Now, you have seen it, I am sure, quite a lot in all sorts of media, the recent series 4. Many people saying it might just be the very best. I mean, I'm actually leaning to agree. Until now, I thought the first one was actually the best. The second and third, the first time round, I didn't like quite as much, but I rewatched the whole thing before watching the 4th one, and I will say that upon rewatch, I enjoyed the second and third one a lot more, probably because I binged all 3 first seasons within a very, very short period of, let's say, about a week, and so I got to see all the connections going, and it is just really, really well thought out, the whole show. We'll get into what it's actually about in just a bit, but the show is many, many different things. I will say that first. You've got many elements. People will probably call it a horror series first and foremost. I will say there are horror elements in this, but I feel that they are just very, very small. They're definitely not stand out to me. I personally don't really see it as a horror series, while in the sense of it's scarier. So yes, I mean, of course it's got a lot of imagery that you could very, very easily associate with horror. But it's not a scary show. If you think it's a scary show, then it definitely isn't. I feel it's more like a sort of mystery, fantasy mystery thing. Yeah, and obviously a coming of age story as well with these teenage kids that we've got. That's how I would best summarise it. But I would say let's just get into the plot first, just in case you have not heard of Stranger Things and don't know what it is actually about. Now, we are, as I've already mentioned, in a small town of Hawkins, Indiana. The main thing about this that you really need to remember when you go in the first time, but you'll notice immediately as soon as you see all sorts of props, etc. The show is actually set in the 80s. So it's quite a time travel in that sense. Not quite sure why they chose the 80s, but I feel it's fine. I think it's great. Maybe it was just because it's a lot easier to just make your plot without having to explain away all sorts of modern technology, I would feel, because a lot of the things do involve sort of old stuff from the 80s, technological things, etc., gadgets. But also I think it's just because nostalgia, of course, is a great selling point, and they do use nostalgia really well in this show. Just for the 80s and things from the 80s. As an 80s kid myself, well, I'm more of a 90s kid actually. I was born in the mid 80s, but yeah, still there are a lot of things from the time period that I, of course, myself recognise as well. Now, we've got this town of Hawkins, Indiana. It's a very peaceful town, small town. Not much happens there, you know, the police force is rather small. And suddenly we have things happening there. You have very, very strange occurrences. The main focus of the first series is one child out of the group of 4 that we see up there. Will, he disappears, and the whole series we're spent looking for him. The town and the sheriff, etc., they're first convinced that he's disappeared, he's probably dead. But his mother, who's played by Winona Ryder, and probably one of her best roles, I'll be very honest, one of the best things about the show is Winona Ryder. And she, she doesn't give up, and she sort of connects to him on another level, I'll call it. So it's not quite normal. So we've got very strange things happening in this town. Our group of young teenage kids, they stumble upon this girl who doesn't speak. She's got a shaved head. And well, not completely shaved, a buzz cut basically, and just things are very, very mysterious, and supernatural stuff starts happening. Now, I really don't want to go too much into detail about this. I will just say that, because I don't want to spoil it for you. If you haven't seen it, you really should. It's a very interesting concept. I really like the concept. It's not necessarily something new, I will say that, but it doesn't always have to be. And it is at this point rather difficult, of course, to keep inventing new things. But I do like the approach that they have here. And what we have and what makes this show so great is that there's something evil about this town, right? Which seems very simple, etc. But they manage to make it interesting. They delve deeper. They kind of switch it up again from series to series. So while there is a evil, it always feels a bit different. While everything still is a bit connected, so it does feel fresh every season. What we get to see. So we're following this group of kids along, and they're investigating. And you do have a bit of cliched thing of course, they're the only ones in the know. Whenever they talk to adults, etc., they don't really believe what's going on. At the same time, I feel that the adults are written very well, so it's not like they're just stupid or these things. They also stumble upon interesting tidbits themselves, start their own investigations, and then, as you can imagine, it all kind of comes together at the end. But it's not the typical thing where they just dismiss the children or anything like that. Oh, it's just the stupid parents, they don't get it, something like that. No, not at all. Every character, I feel, is written very well. We've got a huge diverse cast. The characters themselves are very diverse themselves. It's a very interesting, if you watch the whole thing, some of the characters in some seasons, you kind of dislike them because they just act in a certain way or written in a certain way. And in further seasons, you might actually tend to like them because you can see the change happening in the characters. Really great character development. Also because we get to see these kids age up. Something like that is always fun, I feel, because it really feels like you're on a journey with them, So I'll enjoy these kind of stories. The chemistry between all the cast members is amazing, not just these young kids, who actually are all also fabulous actors, really. If you watch the whole thing, I mean, they get to do so many things, I'm really happy for these kids. I mean, they've got a huge, great career in front of them. But also the adults, I already mentioned Winona Ryder, she's definitely one of the favourites for me in the series. But you've got a lot of adults as well, of course, other ones. I mean, there are actually just too many to mention. We've also got older teens, so it's usually typically the siblings of our young gang, but also others, and you've got high school drama and things come in. But while that all may seem very, very typical, I feel that it's not done in a dull, repetitive way. It's like, oh, we've seen this before. I just feel like, I don't know, the Duffer Brothers, who are the ones who made the series and who write it, I just feel, I don't know, they have got just a great approach where everything should actually look and feel like we've seen this before, this is boring, why are you showing this? But somehow they all make it work and it's just entertaining from start to finish. I don't have many shows where I say, I really feel like binging them, where it's like, I need to watch the next episode straight away, even if it's available to me. I'll just turn it off and say, I'll return at some point later. That is not the case with Stranger Things. I was watching, I was like, right, and the next episode, and the next episode, and then, as I was doing my rewatch, and the next series, and let's keep going. It's just such a great experience. So I'll love it, really. It's done so well, and time just flies. Now, to talk briefly about the most recent one, like I said, I do kind of agree that it is the best, particularly as a music fan. If you're a fan of certain artists from the 80s, I won't spoil which. I mean, if you've seen the series, as you will probably have noticed, my shirts are typically related to heavy metal. So there's one thing in here that to me was just great from my favourite band of all time. One of the most popular songs is used really, really well in the show for something specific, which I won't spoil for you. And series 4, you might have read about, and it is true that some of the episode lengths are crazy. So we've got like episodes that go on for an hour and a half to 2 hours, and I think the last one's even 2.5 hours. But while yes, in and of itself that is crazy for a TV show, they are thematically, they are split into such long sections because that is just the story that we want to cover. So the episodes really do feel that they are as long as they need to be, as they should be, to tell that specific story that we want to get across in that one episode. And it's one of the great advantages of streaming, if you ask me, because we're not, we don't have to fit it into some TV schedule and slot, etc. They really just let the episodes breathe as long as they need to. So don't be distracted by that, because I feel that especially towards the second half of the 4th series or season, if you're American or like that, use that term for it. you know, you really get pulled into it and you just want to keep going and watching. So it's very exciting. We've only got one season left. They said season 5 is going to be the final one. They're currently writing it. I can't wait to see it, even although I believe it's not going to be until 2024 till we actually get to see it. But I just hope that they can really end it on, you know, just a huge, big, successful finale, you know, worthwhile, etc. Because it is, as a package until now, really one of the best shows out there. And if you like stuff about the 80s, you know, there's just so much stuff here that you will like, whether it be the gadgets or the kids playing Dungeons and Dragons, or obviously TV and music and all sorts of other references. It's just so good. And you know, they dress up for Halloween as the Ghostbusters and all these things. There's just so much to like. The humour is brilliant, and like I say, the chemistry, wonderful. You know, these kids, you know, they could keep going on forever, and I'd probably be interested in watching. But I do appreciate it even more if we've got, you know, a season or a show, a complete TV show, as long as it needs to be, while maintaining very, very high quality. So I'm looking forward to that. So it's a very, very high recommendation from me. If you have Netflix, this should be in your top 5 at the very least, you know, unless you don't like any of the concepts I was talking about. We've got monsters, we've got supernatural, we've got mystery, we've got great chemistry, coming of age story, you know, with great 80s references. If none of that sounds interesting to you, then okay, fine, don't. Otherwise, please put Stranger Things on your watch list. That'll be all from me today. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe. It is the best way to support this channel. Leave a comment down below. Have you seen Stranger Things? What did you think about, well, the most current season, of course. What about the first 3 comparisons? You know, have you got a favourite character? I'm kind of always on the, I don't know, I'm always jumping from one to the next, but overall I kind of feel like Dustin is my favourite. I don't know, it could be him. Obviously Eddie from the newest one is very, very popular, which I absolutely agree with. One of the best characters they've written in the show, which is difficult because we've got so many, of course. But yes, anything you want to say about the show, put it down in the comments below. I'll thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video on Flying Wiener. Take care, bye.